Officer Daniel Ruiz thought he had faced every danger during his 16 years on the police force, until someone began stealing family photos from peaceful homes and replacing them with strange, unsettling pictures that proved he was being watched for a very long time. Daniel had always been known for staying calm and focused. Riverside Heights was usually a quiet place where families felt safe and neighbors trusted each other. Crime was rare and usually minor. That changed suddenly when a series of strange break-ins started on Oak Ridge Lane. Nothing valuable like money or jewelry was taken. Instead, someone carefully removed personal family photos from walls, shelves, and mantels. There were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, and no alarms. It was as if someone had slipped in silently and taken those memories on purpose. Daniel felt uneasy. He had worked on many burglary cases before, but this one felt different and much more disturbing. Watching video from security cameras, he noticed a blurry figure standing in the distance at each crime scene, always watching but never close enough to catch. When Daniel zoomed in on the figure, he felt a shock of fear. The shape and posture looked familiar, like someone he had seen years ago in court. His heartbeat quickened as he realized this might not be a random thief but someone from his past sending him a warning. Daniel soon confirmed his fear while going through old police files. One folder was labeled William Crane 2012. Crane had once been a professional photographer known for taking pictures of private moments. But he crossed the line by secretly taking photos of families through their windows and backyards. Daniel had arrested him years ago. Crane was sent to prison and while being taken away, promised he would get revenge on Daniel one day. Now recently released from prison, Crane seemed to be making good on that threat. Daniel began checking all the homes that had been targeted. He placed their names and dates on his garage wall to see if there was a pattern. He quickly noticed each victim had some connection to him, big or small. One family had attended an event where Daniel had given a speech. Another used to live on the same street where Daniel grew up. Slowly, Daniel realized this wasn't about stealing photos. Crane was leading him into a twisted game, using these families to send a message that the real target all along was Daniel himself. Determined not to cause public fear, Daniel started patrolling the neighborhoods quietly at night in his unmarked police car, looking for anything unusual. Around 12:15 a.m. near Willow Ridge Park, his headlights briefly caught a movement behind the swing set. He stopped the car and stepped into the cold air. There was nothing but the sound of a rusty swing moving. On a park bench, he found a photo standing upright. His heart nearly stopped. It was a photo of him, taken just a few hours earlier while he was standing next to his patrol car. The picture had clearly been taken from a nearby rooftop. At the bottom, written in faint pencil, were 3 chilling words, "You never see." After that night, Daniel turned his own home into a heavily guarded space. He put secret cameras around his yard, installed motion sensors, and set his lights to turn on and off randomly to make it look like someone was always awake. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Simple daily tasks made him nervous. When he picked up the morning newspaper, he kept checking over his shoulder, expecting to spot Crane's camera hidden somewhere. He barely slept, and when he did, he had nightmares where mysterious figures appeared in his place in mirrors. During the day at work, Daniel reviewed traffic camera footage from areas where the break-ins had happened. He noticed a dusty van with odd-colored paint passing by each time. Its license plate wasn't clear, but Daniel traced the van to a junkyard that had sold it to a quiet man with intense eyes, likely Crane. That confirmed Daniel's worst fear. Crane was back, and he was specifically targeting him. Things grew more disturbing. 2 families whose photos had been stolen said they later found new photos inside their homes, pictures they had never seen before. One showed their baby sleeping, taken from the hallway. Another showed their backyard from a strange, high angle. This meant Crane had entered their homes more than once without anyone knowing. Realizing that his wife and daughter could be next, Daniel sent his wife Laura and their daughter Mia to stay with Laura's sister in another state. He pretended it was for police training, but his shaky voice revealed how frightened he truly was. Days later, he arrived home after a double shift and paused at his doorway. A small, square box sat on his welcome mat. Inside, wrapped in brown paper, was a stack of Polaroids. Each frame froze Daniel in supposedly invisible moments, stepping out of his car, reading paperwork in his office, and wiping sweat from his brow at the gym. The final Polaroid was different. It displayed his front porch with a timestamp precisely for minutes before he discovered the box. In that instant, Daniel realized Crane wasn't approaching. He was already there, hidden somewhere close, orchestrating the fear building brick by brick inside Daniel's crumbling composure. Daniel could no longer rely on routine police methods. Crane was 2 steps ahead of every logical move. The psychological battle intensified as Daniel transformed his lonely suburban house into a silent battleground. He boarded select windows, unplugged the doorbell, and kept every room dimly lit in a deliberate effort to unsettle the distance between observer and target. He patrolled his halls at night, his service weapon always within reach, staring through peepholes and listening for the faintest disturbance in the wind. Crane's presence had become a ghostly certainty, impossible to see yet felt in every trembling inch of Daniel's skin. He rarely spoke to colleagues, fearing that sharing his burden would only provoke Crane into something more violent. Instead, he isolated himself in obsessive preparation, choosing vigilance over sleep, instinct over procedure. Rain fell steadily one night as Daniel sat at his kitchen table reviewing each clue once more. His notebook was filled with erratic sketches of Crane's movements, circles drawn around locations, and numbers scribbled in the margins. Then everything went suddenly dark. Power outage. His heart knocked painfully in his chest as he realized it was not a neighborhood blackout, but a precise strike. His neighbor's lights still glowed through misty curtains. Gripping a flashlight, he moved slowly from room to room, sweat prickling along his spine. He felt watched even though he could see no one. In his daughter's room, something unexpected awaited him. Her closet door, always slightly ajar, now hung wide open. Inside, taped deliberately on the back wall, was a freshly printed photograph. It showed Mia playing in the backyard weeks ago, sunlight on her face, Daniel in the background preparing the grill. The image was tender and horrifying all at once. Crane had penetrated their home long before Daniel even suspected it. His fortress had been breached before the first stone wall had risen. Rage and dread collided inside him. He ripped the photo down and checked every window latch, finding one in the basement quietly unlocked. Descending into the damp, gasping darkness, Daniel swept his flashlight across the concrete floor. There, beside the stacked gardening tools, lay a tripod leg and an empty camera case. Crane was arrogantly proving that he could visit, linger, and leave without a whisper. Daniel knew then this nightmare wouldn't end through defense. He would have to hunt Crane down himself before the next photograph captured not just a moment, but a tragedy he could never undo. Daniel abandoned caution and committed fully to tracking Crane down before his torment escalated into irreversible damage. No longer sleeping, he spent nights combing through Riverside Heights, cross-referencing traffic feeds, abandoned property records, and supply store receipts that might reveal Crane's movements. His once calculated methods turned desperate, blending official procedure with unapproved surveillance. Every grainy camera shot became potential proof. Every flickering light in an empty building a possible hiding place of the man who had infiltrated his life. Days blurred, food lost its taste, and Daniel felt himself sinking between obsession and collapse. Then he founded a deserted studio warehouse positioned at the edge of a forgotten industrial park where none of his colleagues bothered to patrol. Its windows were covered with thick black cardboard, and the back door had faint scratch marks around the broken lock. Daniel entered with his flashlight trembling in his grasp. Inside, a sickening sight sprawled before him. Hundreds of photographs lined the walls like a shrine of stolen memories. Families smiling, children running, couples in intimate embrace, each unaware they had been recorded. And in almost every image, like a haunting watermark, somewhere in the corner stood Daniel. Sometimes just a reflection in a car window, other times a blur in the background. Crane had crafted a living artwork connecting all these lives through Daniel's unsuspecting presence. On a solitary desk, Daniel discovered a flip phone ringing silently without display. As he approached, it lit up with a single notification. Turn around. He spun instinctively but found no one. Instead, the opposite wall flickered with a newly activated projector, playing a sequence of footage. It showed Laura picking flowers in their backyard and Mia twirling on their porch, all filmed from just beyond the fence. Daniel gripped his head, consumed by the realization that Crane had never wanted to kill him, but to erode him piece by piece through fear. Rage overtook his restraint. He smashed the camera equipment and ripped the photos from the walls, as if destroying the images could sever the terror they carried. But as he stormed out, he noticed one final photograph pinned to the exit. It displayed himself exiting the house that morning, unaware of being watched yet again. At the bottom, in looping handwriting, were the words, "I'll always be closer than your next breath." Daniel sank to his knees outside the warehouse, powerless. Crane had vanished, leaving behind a life Daniel would continue to live only under one condition, never forgetting that his worst nightmare was permanent and still unfolding somewhere just out of sight.